Hi everybody, it is Crystal. I hope everybody is doing well today and staying safe. So today I'm going to show you how to make these very easy old-fashioned pot holders. I used to make them when I was a youngster. They're very easy, great for beginners as long as you know the basic stitches such as double crochet and single crochet. That's all that you'll need to know how to make. Now, first off, if you are new to my channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And because you don't want to miss out, if you look below in the description box there, right there at the beginning, there's a link to hundreds and hundreds, almost 1,000 crochet tutorials that I'm making of this video. They all free for you to enjoy. And if you're a returning friend of mine, thank you for coming back and watching. And everybody hit that like button if you enjoy. So as I said, this is so fun for the advanced and very easy for the beginner to do. Now, these are the crochet pot holders, old-fashioned crochet pot holders. Now, as with any, I'm going to put this on here, as with any crochet pot holder, you always want to use them with caution. Now, this is double layer, but as you can see, there is still holes in it. I mentioned in the video when it's time to sew it up that you can line it with cotton and stuff. So when you get to that part, I'll tell you a little bit about that. As the way it stands, I'm only going to use mine. I didn't have any cotton fabric to line mine here, so as it stands, I'm just going to use mine as hot pads or decoration, just for strict nostalgia purposes. I'm big on nostalgia. This is from, I used to make these all the time when I was little. So anyways, they're very, like I said, they're very easy. Let's go ahead and give them a quick measure so I can tell you how big they are. I really like them. They turned out really well. And they're so quick, so fun, great gifts. I don't know how we should measure here. From point to point, maybe. Point to point is 11 inches. From bottom point to this point, it's 8 inches. From bottom point to the top ring is 10.5. I guess that's how we measure them. Anyways, so this one's done with 2 colors. As you can see, it's pretty much all double crochet. This is single crochet, and down here is kind of a single crochet chain space border that I put on just to kind of be a little bit decorative. As you can see, I used 2 colors on this one, and this one is all straight one color but does have the same border as well. I do love them both, and I'm going to set them aside now and we will talk about the yarn that I used. Now, this is yarn that I got in a bag of yarn that didn't have labels, but all it is this is Peaches and Cream cotton yarn. It's a 100% cotton, and it is a medium weight number 4. So when you're making pot holders or hot pads, you want to make sure that you use some type of cotton yarn. I always suggest nothing less than an 80% cotton. So sometimes acrylic can melt. I've seen people use acrylic successfully, and if you want to use these for decoration purposes only, acrylic would work just fine too. Just make sure you're using a medium weight number 4 yarn. But you're going to need about 120 yards per pot holder of a medium weight number 4 cotton yarn, or if you decide to use acrylic. And then the hook size I am using is a size I, and that is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You guys ready? Oh, it's going to be so much fun. Let's do it. Alright, so you want to start out with a slip knot on your hook. And we're going to work a chain of 22 stitches. And then we're going to be slip stitching into the first stitch to form a large ring. So go ahead and chain 22. Alright, so once you get your chain of 22 done, we will go ahead and slip stitch into the first stitch that right over here to form a large ring. So go right into it and slip stitch. Like that. Alright, there's our ring. So we're going to start with a chain 1. Now that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. It doesn't count as anything. And we're going to be working right back into the same spot that we just slip stitched into. and we are going to work one of the points of the potholder. So we're going to go through and we're going to put a double crochet right where we slip stitched, and then another double crochet in the same spot, chain one, but do a loose chain one, and then back in the same spot again, 2 more double crochets. So that is what the point of our pot holders excuse me, will always be: 2 double crochets, a loose chain one, and then 2 double crochets all into the same stitch. Now we're going to do a double crochet into the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and there's 5. Now we're going to do a chain of 1. Now this is going to be kind of the side of the potholder. Now we don't skip any stitches, we just do that chain 1, and then we begin again and we do 1 double crochet into the next 5 stitches. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to put another point to our potholder into the next stitch. So in the next stitch we're going to put 2 double crochets. There's 1, and there's 2, and then we do our loose chain 1, and then put 2 more double crochets into the same stitch. 1, and 2, like that. Now again, we're going to work 5 double crochets, one in each of the next 5 chains. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to do a chain of 1, and we're not going to skip any chains, but we're going to go ahead and start, and we're going to put 1 double crochet in the remaining 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 5, and now we're at the end, and we're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of our first double crochet, and that will end row 1, and that is what it kind of looks like there, kind of like a mini poncho, I guess. Now you should have a total of 28 double crochets now, and you'll have 4 chain 1 spaces right here at the 2 points, and then right here at the sides. All right, so let's go ahead and begin round 2. So we're going to slip stitch 2 times until we get to the center here of our first point. So slip stitch into the next stitch, and then a slip stitch into the chain 1 space. And now we will do the point again. So we're going to chain 1, and in this chain 1 space we're going to work right through the space 2 double crochets. There's 1 and 2, a loose chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. There's 1, and there's 2. Now we're going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to this next chain 1 space. All right, so don't forget this first stitch, because sometimes he hides. I always find it easier, you got to pull these back like that. See, he's kind of hidden behind these stitches, so you can't forget him, otherwise you'll be lopsided. So make sure you get him, and then all the stitches up until the next chain 1 space. Now remember, I mentioned that this chain 1 space is kind of be where the fold is of the pot holder. Now we're not going to chain 1 anymore here. We're going to go right into this space right here and put a double crochet, just like that. That's what we did right there. And now we will continue putting 1 double crochet into every stitch until we get to our next chain 1 space, which is the next point. Just like that, and now we're at the point here again. So what we will do is we will go into it, this chain 1 space, and work our 2 double crochets. There's 1, 2, our loose chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets, just like that. Now we need to do over here what we just did over here. So 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to this chain 1 space, but remember not to miss that guy. So pull these stitches over so you can grab him up. 1 double crochet in every stitch here until our next chain 1 space. And then in the chain 1 space, we're going to work a double crochet. So right through that space, we double crochet. And then we continue working 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to the end of the row. All right, when you're coming to the end, it's very important. There'll be these 2 stitches here that we slip stitched in the previous row. You got to make sure that you go into those and we don't skip them. And sometimes going into the slip stitch is kind of tight, so just kind of wiggle it through. But you got to make sure you grab up those last 2 stitches so your row is not off. There we go. And then we're going to go ahead and end with a slip stitch into our first double crochet. That'll end row 2, and you should have a total of 38 double crochets now. And now you only have 2 chain 1 spaces, okay, from here on out, and that's at the point. And that's what it kind of looks like. So it's going to look like this, because eventually it'll keep growing, and we will fold it here at this chain 1 space like that, and then we'll be sewing it up later. But row 3 now is the repeat row for the rest of the pattern until we get it as big as we need it to be. So we are going to slip stitch 2 stitches until we get to this chain 1 space. So slip stitch into the next stitch, and then slip stitch into the chain 1 space, and chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. Now in this space, we work what we do at our points. We work in the space 2 double crochets, a loose chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets, just like that. And now we will work 1 double crochet in every stitch until we get to our next chain 1 space, because we don't have this chain 1 anymore. We put the one down the center, we put a double crochet there, so we just work double crochets all the way across until we get to this chain 1 space. But always remember not to forget that first guy right there, because gotta have him. So I'm going to work 1 double crochet in every stitch until I get to my next chain 1 space, which is the next point of the potholder. If at any point in this video that I've said poncho or shawl, point of the poncho or shawl, I apologize. I mean potholder. Usually when I'm dealing with points, I'm making a poncho or a shawl, so sometimes I get confused. But yes, this is a potholder. 1 double crochet in every stitch until you get to the next point of the potholder. All right, I have made it to my chain 1 space here, the point of my potholder, and I'm going to go right into it and do what we do at every point. 2 double crochets, a loose chain 1, and 2 more double crochets. And then again, I'm going to put 1 double crochet in every single stitch, and then until I get to the end of the row. So slide that over to get my first one. And I'm going to work until I get to the end. 1 double in every stitch. And remember, when you're coming to the end here, you're dealing with the 2 slip stitches from the previous row, and those are tight and they're hard to get into, but make sure you don't forget them. You got to wiggle in, wiggle out. There we go. Now we're going to go ahead and end row 3 by slip stitching into our first double crochet, and that will end row 3. And that is what it's starting to look like. You can see where it'll begin to fold there. It's like a mini poncho. And now you should have a 46 stitches, all the 46 double crochets and 2 chain 1 spaces. So now we're just going to repeat row 3. We're just going to keep repeating it until we have a total of 8 rows or 8 rounds. So for round 4, I'll do the exact same thing that I just did on row 3. And row 5 will be the same, row 6, row 7, and row 8. You will always have, from now on, 8 more stitches than you did the previous row. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and finish out, and I'll meet back up with you once we've finished out round 8. Alright, so I have finished my 8 rounds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I went ahead and I slip stitched here to end the round, and I'm going to go ahead and clip this yarn off. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we are going to sew it together at the bottom. Now, if you want to put a piece of cotton fabric inside here to line it, that way, for certain, it's not going to burn you if you grab something, because I really never trust crochet pot holders unless they're lined. I don't have any cotton fabric to put in mine, so I'll probably just use mine as hot pads, to set the hot pan on. But if you want to use it to where you want to grab something out of the oven with it, I would definitely, even though it is double layered, I would definitely recommend cutting a piece of cotton fabric to, like this shape, and maybe even doubling it up like to that shape and sticking it in here, and maybe putting tacking it down with a few stitches with regular crochet or regular thread and needle that matches. And that way, you got extra protection in there. It's cotton lined and it won't burn you. Now, you don't have to do that, but again, always be cautious when you're using these crochet pot holders. Like I said, I'm just going to use mine for hot pads. All right, so what we're going to do now is sew this together. I'm actually going to use a different color, but you can use the same color if you like. I used the same color on this one, but I'm going to switch it up for this one. So I'm going to move my yellow because I'm not going to use it anymore. I'm going to use brown now. So here's where we ended, okay? You see this? We're going to flip it and sew it the other way. And this is how we're going to sew it. So we're going to start We got it folded in half. And we're going to pretend like this is our right side, okay? Because this is where the kind of the seam is to where we always ended, is on the back. Get it together. And if you have it cotton lined, you know, you want to put that in there first. And now we're going to sew it. So what we're going to do is we are going to find, here's that chain 1 space from row 1. Follow the stitches down and get that stitch that is in line with that one. Just do your best, you know, it doesn't have to be exact, but what I do is I kind of just follow it down. I believe it's that one. And now we're going to start in that one. Now, if you don't think that's exact, what you can do is count your stitches on both sides, because you want to make sure they do match up. So, not counting this stitch, I'm going to count down. So here's the one I think is the center. The one I think that matches matches up here. So I'm not going to count that one, and I'm going to count down on this side how many stitches I have, not counting that one. I counted 21, so I want to make sure I have the same on the other side, not counting this stitch. I do, so I got that right. So that's a good idea to kind of count back on both sides. That way you make sure you have the center stitch that's in line with that right there, because following it up sometimes can be hard. But anyways, that's where we're going to start, that center stitch. And go ahead and pull your yarn through and just chain 1. Now we're going to fold our piece in half, and I'm going to hide this tail as I go. And we're going to be working single crochets and chain 1 spaces, but we need to make sure our stitches match up. So I'm going to go into the next stitch on this piece, and then the next one on the opposite piece. We're not going into the one that we started, but the next one on the back piece. And I'm going to single crochet and chain 1. And then I'm going to go in, do that all the way down. I'm going to go into the next piece on this, the next stitch on this piece, this side, and the next stitch on the back side. And I am going to single crochet and chain 1. And again, the next stitch here and the next stitch on the back side, single crochet and chain 1. And this is what I'm going to do all the way down till I get to my point. Keep hiding that tail as you go. Next stitch on the back, single crochet, chain 1. It'll start to get easier once it gets sewn up a little bit more. So single crochet, chain 1 all the way down until you get to your chain 1 space, or your chain space down here, and that's where I'll meet back up with you. So that's what it's kind of starting to look like. All right, I've made it all the way down, and I'm at my chain space here. I did a single crochet, chain 1 in my last stitch. So in the chain space of both pieces, I'm going to go in and single crochet, chain 1, and I'm going to do it one more time in the chain space. Single crochet, chain 1. And then I'll start again. Remember, the stitch kind of hides. Go into that stitch on this piece and the same stitch on the back piece, and repeat our pattern. So the only difference was we did the single crochet, chain 1 twice in the chain space there. Now we're going to continue with the same pattern all the way up until we get to our last stitch. And that is where I'll meet back up with you. I like that. I like that brown with that yellow. That looks nice. All right, I'm coming to the top, and once you make it to the top, you'll see there's 3 stitches there left. It's kind of hard, but so we'll go through the 2 and do normal. Do the single crochet, chain 1, and then the last one, which is kind of hard to see, just slip stitch into it. Like that. And then we can tie that off, and we can hide that tail. So that part is done. Oh, it looks good. I like it. So I like it. Now let's do the top. All right, I'm going to use the brown too to go around the top. So find the back side again. We're going to start in the back. So okay, in the back here, there's the back because that's our tail. I'm actually going to start on the side. You see where this chain 1 space is? I'm going to pick one of the stitches that's above it. It doesn't matter which one. Just grab one of them. And that's where I'm going to start my yarn. So on the side of our pot holder, I'm going to pull my yarn through. I'm going to go around the top here with some single crochet. All right, I'm going to chain 1, and I'm going to go back in that same stitch and single crochet. Now I'm going to work around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way around. You should have 22 because that's what we started with, but as long as you have something close to that, you know, it'll be all right. Don't want to hide any tails as you go. It's fine. All right, I'll meet back up with you when I make it back to my starting point. All right, so I've made it back to my starting point. I only have 21 stitches, but that's okay. I'm going to roll with it because it's close enough. So I'm going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into my first single crochet, and now we're going to make the loop. So go ahead and slip stitch into that. And now we're going to work a chain of 12. 1, 2, you don't want to make it too tight because we have to work back through it. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then you want to bring it over here to the stitch, one of these stitches that kind of looks like it's in the center here. It doesn't have to be exact, but bring it on over there and slip stitch. Don't twist your chain though. So it's best just to bring it over like this straight away and go into one of those stitches that appears to be kind of in line with that chain 1 there, and slip stitch like that. Okay, so now we have our loop. So we're going to chain 1 and turn our work. Now we're going to put a single crochet into every stitch. So remember, we chained 12. So if you want to go, a lot of people like to go, if you look at the loops, here's the chain. If you flip your chain, there's a little bump on the back of each loop. See that? If you go into that one loop only, it'll give you a nice clean edge. You don't have to do that. You can just go through the stitch like normal, but I'm going to single crochet 1 time in the back bump of that stitch. So again, here's your chain facing right side up, and if you flip it kind of to the back, you see that little bump there on each stitch. We're only going through that little bump, and it's kind of hard to get into. You got to wiggle around, but it's only one loop on your hook, see? And then single crochet. And it makes a nice clean edge for your chain, I think, anyways. I'm going to do this all the way across my 12 stitches in my chain until I get to the other side. Cotton yarn is always splitty. There we go. You got this. So I'm going to meet back up with you when I make it to the end of my chain here. Now I'm going to go one more time. If you want to leave it like that, you can. But I made it all the way across. So I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the slip stitch that we started our chain in. To end it. Chain one, turn my work. Now I'm just going to work across, I'm going to chain one, I'm going to slip stitch into the first single crochet. I'm going through both loops now. And then I'm going to single crochet into every single crochet until I get to the last one. You can actually make this thicker if you'd like. You can keep doing rounds of single crochet at the top, or you could just do the one if you wanted. Now I'm going all the way across to one single crochet in every stitch until I get to that last one. Which I will slip stitch into that one. And then I will slip stitch into the same spot that I slip stitched my beginning chain into. That. And then I will tie off and hide that tail and any remaining tails. Oh, I like it with the brown. It looks really good. I like that a lot. Alright, let me hide some tails and then we'll see what we got. Alright, there it is. There's both of them. I really like them. I think they look super cute. This is my favorite though. But I do like this one as well. And I hope that you guys had fun. It was a lot of fun. It brought back a lot of memories for me. So I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Remember, please don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button if you want to. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this tutorial. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on any of my videos. And until next time, bye guys. And I can't wait to see yours. Make yours any color you want. I'm excited to see it. Come show me on Facebook or Instagram, alright? Bye guys.